Gabe, say hi to the camera. Everyone, this is my son, Gabriel. He's crying. Oh, he's sleepy. Gabriel. And yeah. Say hi, honey. Say hi. Say hi. So they called C-section level 1 stat, and it was just like trauma. It was crazy. At that. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you guys know, I had a baby. I had my second child, baby number 2, and it's been an amazing whirlwind, honestly. The first 5 weeks were so intense, honestly. He came into this world screaming. But anyway, this is what this vlog is all about, to just basically share my birth story with you, pregnancy journey with baby number 2, and you know, I'll try to bring him on at the end to see if you know, you guys can say hi to you guys. But yeah, I got pregnant last year. I did IVF again, and I was, you know, blessed that the IVF process worked for us both times on one try. If you hear anything crazy in the background, just know that it's either my daughter downstairs watching Songs for Littles, which I recommend for toddlers, honestly, over Coco Melon or Daniel Tiger or anything crazy like that, or the snoo in the background, which is helping the baby sleep. So I will do a separate review about the snoo, unpaid, but basically it's an amazing crib. If you can afford to get it, get it. If you can't afford to get it, rent it. And I mean, it just helps a lot with baby sleep, and it's not foolproof, but still it's awesome. Anyway, so like I was saying, I got pregnant last year, and really happy that the IVF process worked for both, you know, for both cycles, for Liara and Gabriel. I had to stop breastfeeding Liara so I could start the IVF medications for Gabriel, and that was really odd to me because that was the first time I had to basically sacrifice one thing for one child for the benefit of the other. Now I do it every day. Like, one child is always crying, it seems like, nap. So whose nap is going to get forfeited? Who's going to get listened to first? Who's going to get attended to first? Who's going to get fed first? Who's going to get, you know, put in a crib or high chair first? So anyway, so that was my first experience at juggling things for 2 kids. Pregnancy was very difficult. Arguably more difficult than Liara's, but I was at home. So I was working from home, and I had the ability to take a nap whenever I wanted to, depending on Liara's schedule, of course. Throw up 100 times at home if I needed to, instead of like throwing up in the sidewalk like I was doing with Liara. And basically go to the doctor's office as I needed to without worrying so much about work and repercussions and things like that. So it was a different pregnancy. I did have hyperemesis. I did throw up a lot, but you know, I pushed through. It was such a long pregnancy, honestly. I didn't check the sex of the baby. If you follow me on Instagram, all this is like not new, but a lot of you don't, so here we are. I didn't check the sex of the baby. I just wanted a happy, healthy child, and I was carrying low, and for the most part I was really big. I was huge, and like 99% of everybody saw me and said, "You're having a boy." So the plan was to try for a VBAC. A VBAC is a vaginal birth after cesarean. I was a great candidate for a VBAC because, one, I waited 18 months from cut to conception before conceiving. For my uterus, in order for my uterus to completely heal. So I gave birth to Liara in February. I did not conceive with Gabe till like August, which is like 18 months on the dot. And then on the other hand, my C-section with Liara was caused by a mechanical reason. Basically, my placenta was overworked and had chronically started abrupting. I discussed this in the prior video as well. So they called it early and they said, okay, I needed to have a C-section at 33 weeks. So it's not like I was laboring and then had like an arrested labor. So those two things combined, in addition to other factors, made me a candidate for a VBAC. I was fully aware that that may not be the case. I may have a C-section, but I have to prep myself and just have the energy and everything, you know, ready for a C-section. So first trimester was rough. I was so sick. I went to San Diego for a conference with my husband, and it was just the worst. Also with the baby. Second trimester, I was able to go out a little. I wasn't showing that much. I was, you know, I was okay. And then third trimester, I started having what's called an irritable uterus, where I was just contracting all the time. My uterus was just tight. It was just a tight bawl like 98% of the time, and it was really annoying. I then started having heartburn. As you will see, Gabe has a lot of hair, but honestly, I think of all the medications I've ever taken in my life, this medication, famotidine, which is what my husband prescribed for me for the heartburn, worked like magic. One moment you have heartburn, the next moment it's gone. It's not like, oh, it feels better, it's gone. Like, I just did not feel it anymore. So basically I made it to 39 weeks, and at 39 weeks and 2 days they told me that I had a lot of fluid in my uterus. They've been noticing that I've been having a lot of fluid in my amniotic sac. It's not a big problem, but it could be an indication of something, I don't know, so they had to watch it. At 39 weeks and 2 days, they then said, okay, you've made it this far. I've already been contracting at that time. I'd lost my mucus plug, so I was like ready to go. I was eating dates, I had braided my hair, I was bouncing on the bouncing ball. I was doing everything that I could, to get this baby out. And my husband checked me, and I was already like 1.5 centimeters dilated, so I was ready to go. So they said, listen, you should come in for an induction either today or tomorrow, because you're already 39 weeks and you've made it this far, and if the baby is just hanging out in a lot of amniotic fluid, there may be a problem associated with that, and we don't want you to deal with that. You've already carried the baby so long. This is an IVF pregnancy. You worked hard, spent tens of thousands of dollars to get here, so let's get this baby out. So I was like, okay, well, if I can choose a date, I don't want to come tomorrow. I need to go ahead and get my house in order and make sure my mother-in-law, who's here, which I'm truly appreciative of, because she came and stayed with Deora while I was gone, just make sure she's more comfortable at home, make sure I have my hospital bags packed and everything, just try to get my home in order. So I did that, and then a day later I came to the hospital. At that point I was already contracting. I was already, the contractions were not regular, but they were there. So the plan was to put a balloon in me, and then to help my uterus expand. Usually most people come in without contractions, and then they put the balloon in them, they stop contracting, the uterus expands. Bada bing, bada boom, they have a baby, or it's failed, and then they have a C-section. Me, I came in already contracted, so the moment they put the balloon in me, it was hell. I was just in pain, because with the balloon came contractions, and instead of contractions, you go up and down. By the time you come down, you get like a reprieve. I didn't get any reprieve because my baseline was already contractions. So I had that for about 5 hours just in pain, and then I called for an epidural. Epidural was great. My only concern with epidural was that I just could not feel my legs. Like, I didn't know that I was not going to feel my legs that much. I know I'm married to an OBGYN, we talk about all these things, but we don't talk about it in detail. So I felt like literally kind of like paralyzed, which I guess is what the epidural does to you. My legs just felt like heavy and lifeless, but I was able to labor for 24 hours, a little under 24 hours. So I started laboring with the balloon around 11 p.m. on Friday night. I eventually had the baby at about 7 p.m. on Saturday. So what happened in the interim was that around 4 o'clock, they noticed that I was at 5.5 centimeters. I wasn't dilating anymore. I had 2 doulas. I was trying to breathe, trying to do the whole thing, but I had the epidural. I was listening to Maxwell. I think I'll insert a clip here where I was listening to Maxwell. It's funny, I showed up in labor, very funny. I'm like, I want to eat my jollof rice before I can no longer eat again. This is TNT, I think this is my jollof rice right here. And I want to listen to Maxwell while I'm laboring. And I had those 2 things going on for me. So basically, my cervix was not dilating anymore. And then hubby checked me, and they were like, oh, well, there's usually a space. I can't explain this because I'm not a doctor, but there's usually a space between like the pelvic bone and the uterus or something where the baby's head fits through. Mine wasn't. The space was basically not there, so even though I could literally feel Gabe's head right here, it couldn't descend anymore. That's why my cervix was not expanding. At that point in time, the baby's heart rate dropped, and then they checked me. They put some tube in me to get a better read of the fetal movements, and the tube detected like a reduction in the baby's movement and some blood, which should not be the case. At which point they found out that, again, my placenta was like, peace out, I don't like that, I'm out. So my placenta had just started to erupt. So with Leora, it was a chronic abruption, while with Gabe was an acute abruption. So they called C-section level 1 stat, and it was just like trauma. It was crazy. At that point, they were wheeling me to the C-section room, into the operation room, and I was like, text my family. And then the baby's heart rate kind of like stabilized, so they brought it a step down and said, okay, it's a level 2, so things don't have to go as fast. They can go be a bit more controlled. Did the C-section. I felt it quite more. I felt a good amount of the moving things around, simply because I had an epidural. And when you have an epidural, from my understanding with my prior pregnancy, because they knew a couple hours ahead of time that I was going to have a C-section, they went ahead and gave me a spinal. The spinal worked. I had the baby. I still felt pressure, of course, but then when you, in this pregnancy, in this birth, an epidural, you cannot have a spinal and an epidural. So I already had this epidural. All we did was like increase the epidural or give it an add a top off of another medication, which does not, both combined, does not provide as much pain coverage, if you will, as a spinal on its own. So I felt a lot of moving. I felt a lot of like the and I was just like, oh my God. Again, it was borderline pain, but it was a lot of pressure. And as soon as the baby was out, they then gave me like a different medication, which basically kind of like almost knocked me out. I was still there, I was still talking. I remember telling the doctors, like, make sure you give me an extra stitch, make sure my stitch is extra tight, because I have a 25-pound toddler at home, and she's gonna need me to pick her up. I remember saying that all the time. But anyway, got in, did the C-section. My husband was on my side and he was holding my hand. Prior, he was crying, he was holding my hand. Our lives about to change forever. This time he was more calm because we've done this process before. And then as soon as we brought the baby out, he got up and stood up and said, we got a boy. So that's my neighbor's baby crying, if you hear that. So she just gave birth too. So sometimes I hear babies crying, I'm like, which one is which? But I can distinguish their cries. Plus I have Gabe here on baby monitor. I'm looking at baby monitor and he's knocked out. So she said, we got a boy. I was like, oh my God, we got a boy, that's awesome. And then that was that. I went to the recovery room. He latched immediately. My milk supply kind of like took its time, and I started getting worried that, oh my God, I wasn't going to have milk coming in. But Ray was like, I will, just relax, you're gonna be flowing like, you know, the river now, which eventually I was, and I did. So overall, it was a very traumatic experience. Pregnancy was difficult, the birth was difficult, but I'm so grateful I have my baby boy here. I would love to have more kids, but I don't know if I'm physically able to, because I feel like both pregnancies almost killed me. Placentas that I grow are so bougie. Any amount of stress, they're like, peace out, I'm out. I am out. They don't want to have anything to do with any of that. So yeah, mom of 2, this is my life. It's crazy, it's intense. I go back and forth between carrying, you know, one child and the other. I play whack-a-mole with changing diapers, and we're going to be moving in a couple of weeks. It's insane, but I won't change it for the world. So yeah, that's basically my birth story and how everything happened. It was just a whirlwind of emotions, and I just cannot believe that I'm here now. I'm a mom of 2, running a business, living my life. I have the 5-minute mom makeup on lockdown now. Alrighty guys, I will talk to you guys later. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. I have a lot of mommy content on here, on my Instagram as well. Follow me on Mommy 24/7 for more motherhood related content. And I'll catch you guys later. Stay tuned for my introductory video of Gabriel. Bye. So this is my baby Gabriel. Gabriel, say hi. He just woke up and he's not sure what he wants to do with the rest of the day. But I bet you it's going to involve sleep. So yeah, it's my baby boy. Gaby, wavy. His name is Gabriel Paul, named after both my dad and my late father-in-law. So my husband's dad's name is Paul, my dad's name is Gabriel. So we are giving homage to the most important man in our life, which is then reflected in our son. So yeah, again, say hi.